Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey everyone, happy Friday. We did it. We made it through another week, and now it's time for happy hour. Happy hour is when we watch real live woke trainings, the not the farthest of the far left like we do on Socialism Saturday. What's great about happy hour is that for those of you who are maybe not quite ready for Socialism Saturday yet, for those of you who feel like you need a little bit of an introductory course, for those of you who feel like, you know, maybe you just need something a little bit easier, a little bit lighter than watching hardcore socialism. Happy hour is a great way to do that, because when we do happy hour trainings, generally what happens is, okay, so all of the crazy stuff that you see going on in the world, from critical race theory to gender ideology to attacks on parental rights to abolish the police, defund the police, to these cities that are decriminalizing theft, which means that people are going into CVS's and just wiping out the shelves. Every crazy thing that you see happening in the country right now it starts at the very top with the radical revolutionary socialists that we watch on Socialism Saturday. And you have these socialist activists and organizers and intellectuals and academics, and they're hosting classes and doing conferences and doing trainings and going and getting their ideas into K through 12 schools, getting their ideas in colleges and universities, stuff like that. That's at the very, very top. And then what happens is the ideas from the radical revolutionary socialists that we watch on Socialism Saturdays, they trickle down. They trickle down into the mainstream. And that's when your useful idiots and your progressives who haven't grasped yet that they're advancing socialism and Marxism in the United States, that's when they pick up on these ideas and they start doing the task of the useful idiots, which is to perpetuate the ideas out into the world. The origin point of these ideas is always socialism. It's always Marxism. It's always the same people. We can trace back the roots of these things to the same freaking place every single time. But when it trickles down into the more mainstream stuff, it tends to be a little bit lighter than what you're going to find on the radical revolutionary socialist trainings. This is actually how my channel started with watching trainings. We started watching corporate diversity trainings, corporate equity trainings, whiteness trainings. We started doing this in 2021. And then once we started integrating socialism into our mix, we realized that we had found the origin point of all these crazy corporate socialism, not socialism, but corporate whiteness trainings, corporate diversity trainings. We found the origin point of it because the talking points were the same, but the ideas being expressed were just slightly watered down from their origin point. And so when we watch Happy Hour on Fridays, we're watching how mainstream people consume the content that originates from the farthest left to the far left. So it's a little bit easier for people to kind of wrap their arms around. Generally speaking, when we're doing Happy Hour, you're not going to have the flowery academic language of the socialist. You're generally not going to have, although they do use the same coded language, there's generally not going to be as much of it. And just a little bit later, a little bit more fun. And guess what? We also have beer. So beer makes it easier to go down as well. And I've got a great training picked out today. I'm so excited about this. I think that this is going to be a banner day for Happy Hour. You guys all picked a great day to come. I hope you'll share what you're drinking in the chat. But let me show you what we are watching today for Happy Hour. You guys are going to love this. Hang on. Now, have you ever wondered if you're queer? Now, we know, because we watch queer Marxists on this channel, that the term queer doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're trans. It doesn't mean any of these things. Queer is a far left political ideology. That's all it is. You can be a straight, cis, white man and still identify as queer, because queer has nothing to do with your identity. It only has to do with your political ideology. But what's happened is the radical revolutionary queer Marxists have hijacked the LGBTQ movement, the legitimate one, the one that was necessary before gay people were allowed to get married and stuff. And so after gay marriage was legalized, the queer Marxist hijacked the legitimate LGBT rights movement, and they started bastardizing it for their own purposes. And that's when we saw the transition between the gay straight alliance to the gender sexuality alliance. That's when we saw the advent of this idea of homonormativity. And that's a slur on the left. The idea of homonormativity is when gay people get married and they have kids and they have a house, and it's not considered a good thing. It's basically the gays acclimating to normativity, which under the queer ideology, anything normative, which just means what most people in society do, anything normative is considered to be bad under queer. The goal of queer theory is to destabilize the norm. And the ultimate norm that they're trying to destabilize is, of course, capitalism. We know that. That's going to be a topic for another day. But I wondered, has anyone ever wondered if they might be on the wrong channel? And in fact, have you ever wondered if you're queer? Because today we're going to find out. We're going to take a whole class in how to know if we're queer. And wait until you guys see the description of this. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. You guys are going to die when you see this description. This is from a channel called Field. And this is so great because what this is, and you guys are going to die over this video, this is a queer dating app. And we're going to watch the promo video for the queer dating app before we get started today. I have to tell you, I was 50-50 on whether or not I wanted to watch this video until I watched the promo video for the queer dating app. And I just sat here and I was like, even this is the most cringy queer dating video I have ever seen in my life. You guys are going to love it. But let me read you the description of the session that we're watching. If you're grappling with this question, there's no need to do it alone. Explore queerness with the Field community, led by LGBTQ plus content creator and co-host of the Chosen Family podcast. What does pop quiz for the chat? What does chosen family mean? Why would someone have a chosen family podcast? What does that relate back to? Let me know. I'll take answers in a minute. In this safer virtual space, you'll get to ask Alayna questions, listen to her insights, and hear from others living in the same space as you. The chosen family means the collective. It means the non-binary surrogate family, the collective, because you abolish the nuclear family and make your own, not the nuclear family. The comrades, exactly. The comrades are your chosen family. The comrades, because they want to abolish the nuclear family. The end of the nuclear family. Exactly. This is why we learn how to speak socialist, guys, because would you have known what chosen family meant and what and the significance of it before you learned how to speak socialist? That's why when you learn how to speak socialist, that's when you start seeing socialism show up everywhere in the wild, and that's when it gets really crazy. Alayna Joy is an outdoor-loving, vegan, living LGBTQ plus content creator who brings her frank and funny perspective to a wide range of topics such as mental health and sexuality with a focus on queer community. She co-hosts the Chosen Family podcast and, wait for it, is currently completing a master's degree in counseling. What could possibly go wrong with a queer expert in the Chosen Family completing a master's degree in counseling? Across social media, Alayna shares her love for all things sexuality, climbing, and outdoor fitness with a positive community of like-minded women and LGBTQ plus folks. No matter the type of content she's creating, Alayna's goal is always to keep laughter and education at the forefront. And look, guys, we could get a 30 free day trial to the queer dating app. So we might want to consider that. And we'll watch the promo video for that queer dating app in a second. But before we get into that, guys, I do have a couple orders of business. First off, if you are looking for gifts for the holidays, I want you to head over to my Unwoke art merchandise store, where every single day up until December 10th, I'm doing a daily deal on one of the designs in the Unwoke art merchandise store. And today is the daily deal that has already been my best-selling daily deal yet. The Golden Trump is back. The Golden Trump is back. The Golden Trump is in business. The Golden Trump is on wrapping paper this time, because I did a special limited edition series of the Golden Trump earlier this year, and I have the Golden Trump mug, which is my best-selling mug of all time in the store, and it looks cool, man. This mug in person looks epic. Trump literally looks gold in the mug. It looks so great. But it was a limited edition design, so I took it out of the store. I didn't know if I was going to bring it back, but I thought, what better time to bring back the Golden Trump than for the holidays? So not only do we have the Golden Trump mug has returned for round 2, we also have a couple other new items, to include the Golden Trump tumbler. Look at that. Look at Trump's beautiful face on that tumbler. We have the Golden Trump bag. I mean, come on. Just like, it just looks so fucking cool. We've got notebooks. You can have those out for holiday gifts. And my favorite is I was able to put the Golden Trump on wrapping paper. So if you have a leftist in your life that you have to get a gift for Christmas, I think there is no better wrapping paper than to wrap it in the Golden Trump wrapping paper. I mean, come on. And the best part of all of this is until midnight, only for today only, up until 11:59 p.m., you can get every single golden Trump design at 25% off today only. They will still be in the store after the sale is over, but if you want to get them, today is going to be the day to do it because they are 25% off all day. Tomorrow, the design switches to something new. We're doing the 1984 t-shirt tomorrow. But like this is going to be my favorite deal yet. I fucking love this wrapping paper. I mean, come on. Like, Trump's face is just glorious in this one. And so if you want to support the work I'm doing, get some cool holiday gifts, head over to the Unwoke Art Store. You can check back every single day up until December 10th for a new daily deal for 25% off one of the designs. Tomorrow's design that we're doing 25% off for is going to be this one. We're in 1984, and it might be, I might be doing a double, I might be doing two designs off tomorrow. I haven't decided yet, but I might be combining this one with the Animal Farm one because I was like, let's do an Orwell special. I have a movie poster for Animal Farm. I have a movie poster for 1984. So we might be doing both of those together. Maybe. I'm not promising anything because I already have the 1984 one set up. But regardless, we will be doing a new deal every single day, and I hope you guys will check it out. All purchases do go to support the work I'm doing, and I really, really appreciate it. Another thing I want to make sure you guys know is the biggest spy stream ever is coming up next week. Now, I have infiltrated one-off training sessions that socialists have done, and I broadcasted them on the internet and showed them to you. I've infiltrated full day-long conferences that socialists have done and broadcast them on the internet for you. Next week, we are infiltrating a multi-day. It's going to be December 6th, 7th, and 8th. A multi-day teacher training. And I'm going to broadcast that on the internet and show it to you. But the only people who are going to get access to the biggest spy stream live infiltration that we have ever done are people who are supporting my work over on Substack or on Locals, Patreon, Twitter, YouTube channel subscriptions. If you're a supporter of my work on any platform, you're going to get access to it. But I prefer people support my work on Substack because that's the audience I'm trying to build out. Substack is my main content hub on the internet. You can head over to Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Link in the description below or going on the ticker or even right here. Ding. Head over there, sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. And grassroots support is how I fund all of these infiltrations and the journalism that I do around it. So not only am I going to broadcast it on the internet and show you guys what they're teaching, I'm also going to break down what they're teaching. I'm going to make clips of what they're teaching. I'm going to put it out on the internet. So you don't have to take my word for it. No one has to take my word for it because I will show you what the left is saying when they think you're not listening. And I'm not going to tell you what event we're infiltrating, but let's just say it's going to be very, very, very sexy. Very sexy indeed. Sexy in terms of what they're teaching your middle schoolers. Sexy in terms of what they're teaching elementary schoolers. Sexy in terms of what they're teaching ages 0 through 6. I'm not making this up. I've seen the presentation list. Sexy in terms of, should parents even have parental rights to decide what their children learn? This is going to be one for the books, guys. I promise you, you are not going to want to miss this. The only people who are going to get access to the live training to see the investigative journalism being done in real time are the people who are supporting my work. I will be sending out more information next week to people on my Substack. We're going out with a bang, guys. We are going out with a bang. You know, I'm still 50-50 on whether or not I'm going to be doing this stuff in 2024. You guys know I've been having a little bit of a existential crisis in terms of like, does my work even matter? Is anyone listening? If a tree falls in the forest, does it even make a fucking noise? And no one's around to hear it? Does it even make a noise? You all know I've been going through a little bit of an existential crisis. I'm still in the existential crisis, but I'm keeping my commitments through the end of the year. I got a couple things going on in January that I'm going to keep those commitments as well. And we're going to see how this goes, because if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang. And so we're going to see how this is received. And to be honest, guys, if they fucking ignore what I'm going to be doing next week, then that's going to tell me a lot. So hopefully it actually makes a difference. Hopefully people finally hear. I know a lot of people here support me, and you guys, and I respect that. And I'm not trying to diminish that at all, because I love you guys. But at some point, I need to acknowledge that that I cannot compete with people with platforms, many times larger than me, who are lying to their audiences every day. Anyway, I'm not going to go into my existential crisis anymore now, but we're going to do this next week, and that's going to be the way it goes. And yeah, I hope you guys join me for it. We'll see how it goes. They advised me to just keep your head up, Carlin, and just hope and pray upon a star that things will turn around. That's the advice that I've been getting. So I don't think that that's going to work. Anyway, let's see. What else do I have? Oh, we have to talk about beer. Can we talk about beer? I have 4 beers. And the tradition of happy hour, before we get started with our presentation, is I tell you guys about the beers, and you guys get to decide which one I drink first on the stream. And if you're drinking something fun, please let us know in the chat. As a reminder, guys, please also make sure to mount that like button for me. Mounting the like button lets YouTube know to recommend my work to other people and stuff like that. So, guys, if I can't get people to mount the like button, then I'm really not going to stick around, because like this is something that's done for free. I don't know why it's so hard to beg people to get them to mount the like button. Well, perhaps sitting down and listening might be a good, maybe ask people in the chat, or listen to what's already been said, or like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is why I'm like, every day, every goddamn day, every fucking day. All right, let me tell you about the beers that I have for today, and then you guys are going to get to be able to vote on which one I drink first. Our first beer is from a Vermont brewery, and this is going to be Block Print. And I don't know much about this one other than it's a raspberry lime beer, and I like raspberry and I like lime. And so, it also has lactose in it as well. And this is a fruited sour ale. So that's going to be option number 1, raspberry lime. Next up, it's a dessert beer kind of day. Next up, I have a Sunday sour. This is from Drecker Brewing Company, which is one of my favorite ones. And, well, bro, that happens here. This is one of my favorite breweries for like dessert sours and things like that. And I'm excited about this one because I haven't tried it yet. This is a strawberry white chocolate Sunday sour. Let's see. It has strawberries, white chocolate, and lactose. So that's going to be our second option for today. Our third option is going to be kind of a breakfasty. Look at this beautiful can. Sometimes you don't need a lot of design. Sometimes, like, look at this. You got a lot of design on this can, and you almost can't tell what's going on. And you've got almost next to no design on this can, but it just looks so beautiful, doesn't it? I couldn't resist. This is called Morning Star. This is from Four Quarters Brewing Company. And where is this brewing company out of? Another Vermont brewing company. So the land of the communists. That's okay. We'll forgive them. And this is an imperial, which means it has a lot of alcohol in it. This is an imperial stout with lactose, maple syrup, coffee beans, and cold brew. So this is going to be our maple syrup coffee stout for a little bit of like a breakfast feel. But this last one is the one I'm really excited about. First of all, because it's from one of my favorite breweries, which is WeldWorks Brewing Company. WeldWorks is out of Colorado. And I mean, check it out. Salted Oreo stout. Focus, camera. Come on. I'm trying to get my webcam to focus. I won't do it. Salted Oreo stout with ice cream, Oreos, vanilla, milk sugar, and sea salt. So that's what we got today, guys. That is the poll that's getting put in the chat over on YouTube. Let me know which beer you want me to drink first. Again, our options are raspberry lime, white chocolate strawberry, maple syrup and coffee, or salted Oreo stout. Let me know which one you want me to drink first. And in the meantime, I'm going to pull up the first thing I'm going to pull up is the promo video. The first thing we're going to watch is the promo video. Yeah. Trendolin, when you meet Karen Ann, ask her why she blocked me on everything for telling the truth about what was going on in New Hampshire. Can you please just do that? Trendolin, you made me watch the Whatever podcast. Can you please ask Karen Ann why she blocked me for telling the truth about what was going on in New Hampshire? Because the LPNH doesn't exist as a party anymore. I hope everyone knows that. Like, there is no LPNH anymore. It's just a Twitter account. So can you please ask the national secretary why she blocked me for telling the truth about what happened in New Hampshire? That'd be pretty great, Trendolin. I feel like you owe me. Okay, let me get this tab set up. Let's see. What do we have on the poll? Oh god, the salted Oreo is winning by 1.5 miles. Okay. So I'm gonna get the salted Oreo beer together. And what we're gonna do before we jump into the main presentation today, well, except that she blocked me for telling the truth about what was going on in New Hampshire, Milo. So I have to question her awesomeness when I never did anything to Karen Ann. She blocked me and then she shit-talked me for telling the truth about what was going on in New Hampshire. That's just reality, bro. I'm sorry. I liked Karen Ann. I really did. But that's reality. Anyway, so the first thing that we're going to watch is this is the promo for the queer dating app, and that should give you a sense of the flavor of what we're going to be running into today. So let me just get this. Just get ready, guys.
What is it? This feeling. I'm so curious about it. Want it. Need it. I keep thinking about laughing, about exploring, about touching, about wanting, about you. It's infinite, so vivid, feels alive. Realer than real. Being together in so many ways. We can feel it quietly or real out loud. Feeling this feeling more like me. And I'll keep coming back till I know every part.
Is everyone ready to join the queer dating app now? Is that... I mean, like, I'm not opposed to like sexy artistic stuff, man, but like I was so weirded out by that dating commercial. I was like, oh shit. See, you're glad you stuck around now, aren't you? You're glad you stuck around. Welcome to our crazy world. So that's the type of thing that we're getting into today. I want everyone to be prepared. Now let's get into the main show that we're watching today, guys. How do I know if I'm queer? Let me just make this smaller so I can actually see it again. And as a reminder, guys, please do make sure to mount the like button for me. We do happy hour every single Friday at 5 p.m. And we are going to decode the leftist ideology that we're going to see in front of us. And I hope you guys have a drink and you got like a snack or something. And I don't know. Let's get this party started. Let's learn if we're queer.
Hello?
Hello.
Are we live? Is it happening?
Yes,
Can everybody see and hear me? Oh my goodness, look at all these comments.
It is happening. How many views does this have?
Hello, everybody.
325.
Can somebody in the comments just let me know that you can hear me and see me? You can! Yes! Kai says yes. Sheila, Sheila says yes. How is everybody? Wow, we have people from Vancouver, Philly, Atlanta, Ontario, Manitoba. Dibbles, I don't know if...
Hang on. Emotional Frog over on Rumble wants to know if I can see their comments. Yes, I can see the chat over on Rumble, Emotional Frog. Thank you guys for watching me over on Rumble. Please make sure you're following me on Rumble. Make sure you follow me on both YouTube and Rumble. I don't actually have that many problems with YouTube, like taking my content down, but it's always good to have a backup. So guys, if you're not following me on Rumble, please make sure you're following me on Rumble. If you're not following me on YouTube, please make sure you're following me on YouTube. I really appreciate it.
You know, but I'm actually also from Manitoba, so we get each other.
Fucking Canadians
we
ruin
have
everything.
Caitlin from Ontario.
Ruin
we have
everything.
Germany, another Philly, North Virginia, Italy. Wow, Victoria, Ireland. JT is here. Dan is here. Kai is here. Langley, Nova Scotia, Montreal, Toronto. Oh my goodness, England, Ontario. Here they come. Morocco. Wow. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
It is so nice to be here, to have been invited here by Field to take part in this series. Field essentially asked me if I would want to come on and chat with you guys for a bit about being queer and about discovering your own queerness and kind of questions around how does one know? How do you know if you're queer? Alayna, help me. Alayna, help me. How do I know? Am I gay? Am I bi? Am I queer? Am I straight? Am I pan? Am I asexual? How do I know? That's really what I'm here to talk with you all about today. A little bit about me as we get started. My name's Alayna Joy. For any of you who don't recognize me, hello. I make content on the internet about a wide variety of topics, but mostly I talk about sex, dating, relationships. I do a lot of reaction content for fun over on my YouTube channel, but mostly I like to talk about the queer community and relationship within queer community, a relationship with other people, relationship with ourselves, relationship to our mental health. And that's kind of where I'm at. Outside of the content that I make online, I am a master's student. I'm studying to be a counselor. So if it were up to me, I would be able to see all of you here with me and we could...
Oh, hang on. Now, Maidenless, I promise I'm not picking on you, but I do love it when new people join us because we get to teach them things. So do you mind if we teach you something? Because this is something you probably haven't heard other places. Being queer has nothing to do with being gay. It has nothing to do with being trans. Queer is nothing more than a far left political ideology. So what we're going to be hearing today are the translations of the useful idiots. So we have to take some of the things that they're saying with a grain of salt because these are not the primary people pushing this ideology. But what queer is, the very definition of queer theory is going against the norm of society, what is normative in society. It's just a far left political ideology. So I'm going to encourage you. It's not the same thing as being trans. It's not the same thing as being gay. You don't have to be trans or gay to be queer. In fact, most queer people identify as some form of non-binary, which means abolishing the gender binary entirely, which goes against being trans and all that stuff. Anyway. Yeah, it doesn't mean that anymore. They've hijacked it.
I could pick your brains instead of you just picking mine, but alas, it is a live stream. Laura says, love this theme. Thank you so much. No, thank you for being here. Alexia says, gender fluid and bisexual here. Sheila, am I saying your name right?
Gender fluid
Sheila,
and
Shayla
bisexual.
Says bisexual here as well. Welcome. Oh my goodness, we have someone from Ukraine, New Zealand, Mexico. Rafi says they're from Mars. We have a wide range. Myself, I currently identify as a lesbian, gay, queer. I feel comfy in all of those words, under all of those labels, but I didn't always. And that's kind of how I thought I'd start this stream. I'm going to be taking questions after I tell you a little bit about me and who I am, kind of how I got here. So any questions that you have, Shayla, thank you. Shayla saying it, I can say it correctly now. Isabeau, we also have a non-binary lesbian from Norway.
A non-binary
any
lesbian.
questions that you have, you can put them in.
Pop quiz for the chat. How can someone be a non-binary lesbian? How can someone be a non-binary lesbian? Being non-binary means you're not a woman. So how can someone identify as a non-binary lesbian? Does anyone know? You declare that you are, I mean, pretty much, Benjamin, pretty much, yeah, pretty much. We have gone over this before. Is a non-binary lesbian a guy that wants to bang lesbians? Not really, not really. No, it always makes sense, Amy, but you need to learn how to speak socialist. If you don't know how to speak socialist, it's going to seem like they can't keep their story straight, but once you learn how to speak socialist, you know that there's always a reason for it. Non-binary equals gender identity. Lesbian equals a sexual preference, kind of. Yeah, I mean, actually, this is probably the easiest explanation for it. So essentially, non-binary, so what a non-binary lesbian means is someone who does not identify as a man who wants to sleep with women. That's essentially what it means. So you don't identify as a man. It doesn't matter if you have a dick or not. Like whether or not you have a dick is immaterial. You don't identify as a man and you want to sleep with women. That's what a non-binary lesbian is.
The comment section, and I'll pull some from there. I'll also be pulling questions from the group chat over on Field, which the link to that will be in the chat here in a second.
I kind of want to sign up for a Field account just to see what type of messages I get. That could be a fun little experiment. I did that briefly with OkCupid, but they wanted me to pay them money. And I was like, I'm not paying OkCupid money. Like I'm way far. But apparently I get a free 30-day promo membership for Field. So that might be something to try.
Hello, Cosmic Glaze. Bisexual here from Florida. So, how did I get here? It is a sort of long and winding story, and I'm gonna attempt to tell it in the most concise way possible. But I'd like to start, I mean, not totally from the beginning, but I'd like to start a little ways back. Basically, I grew up in a small conservative town in rural Manitoba. Shout out Manitoba, shout out Canada.
She definitely has a Canadian accent.
And I didn't know.
Hang on, there's a question in the chat, and I do try to answer questions and interact with the chat throughout the presentation, guys. So if you do have questions, please make sure you chat them in. Amy in Connecticut wants to know, I don't understand why more trans people don't express that non-binary erases their identity. They do. Don't trans people want to transition into the opposite gender? Yes. That implies there are two genders. That's exactly right, Amy, but a couple things. Number one, there are a lot of trans people who have a problem with the queer non-binary bullshit. The problem is that on the conservative right, they have now demonized all trans people. So think about what's been going on for the last year, year and a half plus on the conservative right. They have called trans people groomers. They've called them pedophiles. They do not distinguish between normal trans people who are just trying to live their lives and like queer activists or leftist activists. They refuse to use the pronouns that normal trans people want them to use because they're trying to make a political point. They refuse to use the names that normal trans people want them to use because they're trying to make a political point. They talk down to these people. They openly vilify these people. They call for these people to be outcast from society. They call for banning all trans surgery, including for adults, not just for kids. Normal trans people can get around banning medicalization of children, but now we've got the conservative right calling to ban all trans surgery for everyone, including adults. So do you want to know why those people don't speak up? It's because they are resoundingly vilified when they do. And I know that because I've worked with normal trans people who have spoken up against this bullshit. And guess what? They're absolutely fucking demonized when they do because the right doesn't even want trans people to exist in general. So what incentive do they have? If you want people to speak up against something, you have to make it easier for them to do it. And the fact is that it doesn't matter to the right if a trans person just wants to be normal and live their life. They view them in the same category as groomers and pedophiles, which they're not. And so there are trans people speaking up against this because where you are correct is trans and non-binary is not the same thing. Trans and queer are not the same thing. Non-binary or queer Marxist queer theory, it seeks to abolish gender entirely. They want to get rid of all gender, whereas trans people want to transition from one gender to the other. So trans people, normal ones, want to uphold the gender binary because they acknowledge that there are men and women. Non-binary wants to get rid of gender entirely. So I think that people need to make it easier for people to speak up and to integrate them into what's being into the fight against this stuff. And if they're not going to do that, then we can't be surprised when people don't speak up.
I didn't know that women could be gay. I didn't know that that was an option. I didn't know it was a thing. All I knew from my upbringing was that there were these gay men out there somewhere in the universe, and they were going to hell. And it was a sin, and it was something shameful. It was something that threatened the sanctity of marriage. It was a threat somehow to our religious beliefs, and it was kind of this big, bad, scary thing. And that's all I knew. And so I kind of moved through the beginning of my life not questioning that my experience would be any different. It not only didn't occur to me that I could be gay, it didn't occur to me that I could be attracted to women or attracted to queer people in a way that was different at all from my peers.
Well,
so
hang on. Amy is saying, sometimes I think leftists self-identify as queer merely to be included in the rainbow. Yes, Amy, that's exactly what's happening. Because queer is not about being gay. Queer is not about being trans. Queer is only a far left political ideology. That's it. You do not need to identify as queer you don't need to be gay to identify as queer. You don't need to be trans to identify as queer. You can be a straight cis white man and identify as queer. You don't need to be anything to identify as queer. This is what the conservative right needs to wrap their head around. There is a really big difference between gay and queer and trans and queer. There is a huge difference between these things. queer is just a far left political ideology, and there are a lot of people identifying with queer, not because of any sort of like sexual identity, not because of their gender identity, but because they want to be associated with a marginalized group, because that gives them oppression points and it gives them attention and stuff like that. Hello, Offensive Saint. Welcome. We appreciate you being here. Dr. K, could it be that the useful idiots are the ones who think queer is a sexual identity and not a political one? Well, I mean, sure, but that's what useful idiots are, right? They regurgitate these talking points that they've been given by the far left without really understanding what they're doing. But that's why we need to go to the root of the problem and to understand what this is. And she's already said it. The thing is that, like, people like her, she's a useful idiot, right? She doesn't know what this ideology is. She's doing this because she thinks she's being a good person, stuff like that. But she's already said it. She's already said you can be bisexual and queer. You can be gender fluid and bisexual. They do make distinctions between queer and sexuality, or queer and gender identity. They treat them as two separate things. They just haven't fully integrated what that means. But functionally, is she teaching that queer is the same as sexuality? No, she's not, because she's already said that bisexual and queer are two different things. Is she teaching that queer is the same as gender identity? Well, no, she's not, because she's already said that genderqueer and bisexuality are two different things. So they are separating them. She just doesn't realize exactly the full extent of what she's teaching. Well, Amy, again, the T is not the problem. We need the LGBT to stay together. The Q is the problem. All right.
I went through elementary school, junior high, high school, thinking that I was like just like the other girls. Like, I didn't think that there was anything different, unusual, quirky, funny. I didn't think there was anything not not straight about me. Partially because I didn't know it was an option, right? But also partially having grown up in kind of such a repressive way. The way that I kind of rationalized this with myself is that any attraction that I felt toward women, because it was there from a young age, I truly believed that all women felt that way, that all girls felt that way. I thought that having intense feelings for your girlfriends was just the way that women had friendships. I thought we all kind of felt that way.
Hang on. Offensive Saint says, is this lady a Marxist? So Offensive Saint, on Fridays, what we do is we watch kind of like lighter leftist training. So do I think that this person is a Marxist? No. I think this person is a progressive that doesn't understand the ramifications of the ideas that they're pushing. They're a useful idiot. They're a useful idiot for Marxist ideas.
And we just didn't really talk about it because it was a bit uncomfortable or shameful, or it was something that should be kept secret. And so we did keep it a secret, but the key word being we. I really believed that all us girls were in it together. Caitlin says, I felt that same way. It's not an unusual experience, right? You don't grow up inherently assuming that something that you feel so normal about is out of the ordinary or is different from other people. So it wasn't until after high school when I heard the term bisexual on the internet, on YouTube, that everything shifted for me. And I realized, or I thought to myself, wow, that explains it. That explains everything. Because I had heard in junior high, was the first time that I heard of a woman being gay, Ellen. But I didn't connect to her. I didn't think, oh, that's just like me, because I was still in this phase of thinking that all girls felt this way. So I couldn't be gay. I couldn't be like Ellen. I wasn't, you know, shameful and sinning like that. That wasn't for me. But then after I graduated high school, after I had a little bit of space from my community and a bit of time to kind of form my own opinions, learning about bisexuality, I was like, oh my God, that explains it. That's me. I'm bi. And then I proceeded to date a man for 10 years.
What?
The same one. Truly believing that I was bi, truly believing that this was everything explained. This was everything that I needed to know about myself, and that I was happy. I'm gonna say 3 years into the relationship.
I don't mean to sound like a bitch, but how are you going to date? I've been married to my husband for 12 years. And we got married like 6 months after we met. So it's like we've been together like, 12 years and 6 months. It's at 7 months now, I guess. 12 years and 7 months I've been with my husband. It is a lot of goddamn effort to be in a relationship with someone for 10 plus years. It's like a 10-year relationship, you're going to go through ups and downs. You're going to go through periods where you love them. You're going to go through periods where you hate them. You're going to have knockdown, drag out fights. You're going to make up. You're going to it is not an easy thing to be in a relationship with someone for 10 years. Okay. How in the ever loving fuck are you in a relationship with someone that you're not attracted to for 10 years? I'm really asking. I can kind of wrap my head around this idea of like, I didn't know I was a lesbian and I dated men and I thought that I was happy, but I wasn't happy because I really, I had this inner, like, but like for 10 years, really, really, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Here's what I want to know. What political groups did she get involved with around the time that she discovered that she was a queer, like, lesbian that was into women after she spent 10 years in a relationship with a man? Like, am I wrong about this? I don't mean to be a bitch. I know that people grow, they evolve, and sometimes we find new parts of our identity, but like, having been in a relationship with someone for like almost 13 years in the case of my husband, I can't imagine being in a relationship with someone for that long if I wasn't attracted to them.
Relationship, 3 or 4 years into the relationship, I saw a coming out video on YouTube. Kai says, wait, women can form their own opinions? It's really hard for us, but like if we try, if we really put our minds to it. No. I saw a coming out video online on YouTube of a woman who I actually related to. She looked a lot like me. She had long, dark brown hair. She wore makeup. She was in a relationship with a man. And she came out with this earth-shattering video, at least earth-shattering for me, saying that she had realized that she was a lesbian. And I absolutely broke down. I absolutely broke down. Because I thought, if it can happen to her, it can happen to me.
Yes. Yes, offensive saint. Exactly right. Queer means against the norm. So and the norm, by the way, that they're always trying to destabilize is ultimately capitalism, but we don't need to go into that here. Like for our purposes, the norm is so the thing that queer is meant to attack more than anything is the nuclear family, because what they're trying to do is queer relationships. They actually say this, queer relationships is a way to destroy the nuclear family. It just means going against whatever the societal norm is to try to destabilize the system. Very, very good, Groypers. Very good.
Long story short, talked to my partner about it, and we kind of convinced me that there's no way that that could be true, that I was definitely just bi, that I was definitely still bi, and not gay, and everything was fine. Fast forward another, let's say 4 years. We're engaged now, me and this man, and COVID hits. COVID hits and takes away from
here
me
we go. Here we go.
all of the queer community that I've built out here in Vancouver. Takes away from me basically all connection to the outside world outside of this straight passing relationship. And then on top of that, you add into the pressure cooker that I'm supposed to be planning a wedding on top of all of this. And that was essentially the combination that did it for me, where it was something that I couldn't not look at anymore. And I spent the first part of COVID just in an absolute space of terror, feeling like I knew this thing to be true about myself, but I didn't know what I was going to do about it or how I was going to live with it. But I did. I figured it out. I ended my relationship, the engagement, and I started this whole new chapter. And that was almost 4 years ago. What? Almost 4 years ago now.
Do you notice that she said
Question.
do you notice that she said that COVID took away her queer community? So I promise you guys, she got involved with some far leftist groups that were pushing her into this ideology, and they convinced her that after 10 years of being in a relationship with a man, that she didn't want dick at all, and that here's the thing, like, and I've noticed this through, and it gets really dangerous when we're talking about like the gender sexuality alliances in school, where all of a sudden all these 15-year-olds in school are identifying as queer, and they're all part of the same club, and they're all part of the same social circle and things like that. But this can happen to adults too, right? Where you feel awkward, you're looking for friends, you find these groups of people, and lo and behold, they're all effing queer, they're all identifying as queer, and you're like, well, I'm awkward, maybe I'm queer too, and you want to fit into the social groups because these are your friends, and so you change who you are and the realities of your life to fit into these social groups. She got excuse me, she got her queer community taken away from her during COVID. And so she queered herself to bring the queer back. Does that make sense? Am I just making this up? Yeah, she was spending time on the internet during COVID. Exactly. She got pulled into all these different subcultures. And then all of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, ends a 10-year relationship with a man, and it's like, I'm a queer, like, gender fluid lesbian. Okay.
From Laura. I started considering myself queer when I considered myself pansexual and started dating trans folks / non-binary folks. So that's basically a way to describe it.
Oh. So that's like honestly the easiest definition of pansexual that I've ever seen. I hadn't thought about it this clearly. Pansexual is just like like bisexual is different from pansexual in that bisexual won't date queer and not like trans and non-binary folks, whereas pansexual will date trans and non-binary folks. Got it. Okay. Which makes sense.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. It's just I saw it come up on my screen here. So that's kind of the Sparks notes of how I got here for anybody who's not familiar with me or my content. And now I'd love to take some questions. I'm seeing a couple people saying that it was my coming out video. That was their realization moment. And I want to say I'm sorry. You're welcome. Not quite sure. That was part of my decision to.
I don't know the answer to this, offensive saint. I tend to think probably, maybe, but I'm putting it up on the screen because I want to know if someone else in the chat knows the question to it. Did leftists in the what is the origin of the word gender is really the question. Did leftists in the 20th century invent the word gender? It's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but it's worth looking into, that's for sure. And if anyone knows the answer to this, or if anyone wants to go do some Googling and find out the origin of the word gender while we're watching this, that'd be pretty great. I'd appreciate it.
Talk about it online was that like I had watched every coming out video that existed on the platform. I had watched every coming out video that existed on YouTube. And first, I had never seen a coming out video from somebody who I perceived to be relatable to me until it was Ingrid Nelson's video. And second, when I kind of realized my own sexuality.
So a lot of people in the chat are saying John Money invented it. I see Everyday Therapist saying she covered it. Bot says, in 1955, the controversial and innovative sexologist John Money first used the term gender in a way that we all take for granted. Well done. Well done, everyone who said John Money. I learned something today. I appreciate it.
At 28, and in a long-term relationship with a man, that was something I had never seen people talk about. I had never heard anybody talk about only realizing that they were gay, only realizing that they were queer that late in life. I was under the impression that this was something that you were, you like pop out of the womb and you just know. And that was not my experience. So that's what made it important for me to talk about it online.
Hang on. Don't hate money, offensive saint. Money is amazing. Money brings security. Money brings fun. Money brings pleasure. Money brings joy. Because money can do you think Nick hates money? Come on. Nick brags about being a millionaire all the time. Don't ever tell yourself that money is. You will be very, very poor if you tell yourself that money is the root of all evils. You embrace that. The only people who become rich are the ones who embrace money, bro. Pro tip.
Okay, I'm going to scroll through here and look at a couple of questions.
Nah, fuck that. I love money. Money's awesome. I love it.
How do I overcome subconscious homophobic beliefs? I am out and proud in theory, but in practice, I still notice myself feeling shame, especially because all my queer relationships have been a secret. That's a huge question. And thank you for asking it. It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy to overcome kind of internalized homophobic beliefs, especially when they're so nailed into us, hammered into us over and over again from a young age, that something about this experience is shameful, something about this experience is wrong. And then when you have the addition of having all of your queer relationships having been a secret, it's this additional layer of shame. I think what I would say in terms of how to overcome that, one, I would continue with the fake it till you make it. I know it sounds cheesy, but it sounds like you are at least out and proud in theory. That's a huge first step. And I want to not forget that. I want you to not forget that about yourself, that you have done that. You have come out. You are out. you are proud, even just in theory, that's a huge thing. So I don't want to forget that part of you. And then I want you to try and think of this part that feels the shame still, that feels kind of that internalized homophobia. I wonder if you would be able to see that piece and ask it what purpose it's serving. Why are you here? Right? Why is this shame here? What's it trying to do for me? And my guess is that the answer that you'll get will be something along the lines of, it's trying to protect you, right? Like when we have shame about something, when we hold on to shame, what that is that's a part of us trying to keep something that we fear, if somebody else finds out about this, it's going to make me unlovable. Shame is the fear that we are unlovable on some level, that we don't deserve
I
love.
actually agree with that.
If only
You know what? I agree with that. Sometimes lefties give good advice too, and we shouldn't poo-poo everything that they say just based on the fact that they're pushing crazy leftist ideas. Shame is the idea that you are unlovable. I think that that's actually really good advice. Like, and I think everyone needs to know, because I mean, I experience this every single day when I'm called fat and ugly on the internet every day. Like, you know, you like just because some people don't like you and you're not some people's thing, it doesn't mean you can't find your people. Everyone has people out there that will love them. Everyone has people out there that want to be with them, that want to have sex with them. You don't need to be an incel. I'm talking to you, groypers. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what it doesn't it doesn't matter your weight. It doesn't matter your haircut. It doesn't matter any of that. You will be able to find people who love you for who you are. It doesn't matter if you have people that vehemently hate you. I have people that vehemently hate me, that literally, what did Sloan Rathmush call me? She called me the most hated person on the internet. I was like, bro, there are people that are way more hated than me. Like, what are you talking about? But there are people that vehemently hate me. And then on the other side, I have people that would, I think, kill for me, honestly. And so you always need to keep in mind that no matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter how many people you've burned bridges with, no matter any of these things, there are people out there who will love you. There are people out there who will accept you. There are people out there who want to be with you, who want to sleep with you, who want to support you, who want to, be friends with you, all those things. And so no matter what, and if you haven't found them yet, that's okay. Just stop hanging around with the people that don't make you feel good, Amy says, you know what they say, I'd rather be one person's shot of whiskey than everyone's cup of tea. I totally agree with that. I've said a million times, I would rather someone be a hell no than feel mediocre about me. If you don't have a strong reaction to me, then I haven't done my job. Either you're going to be a hell yes or a hell no. Did I ever converse with a narco-capitalist, Steph? I have not. I have not. Maybe someday, who knows?
only somebody knew the true me, if only they knew, they really knew XYZ, they would leave, or they would judge me, or they would this, they would that. They would find out that I'm unlovable. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of take the shame out of the shame. Because it's trying to protect you, it's trying to help you. And if we can maybe honor that, I would say that would be the first step in moving past it. I hope that makes sense. Ooh, what's the simplest way to explain comp het to the baby heteros that don't have any knowledge of the queer community? So for anybody who's unfamiliar, comp het, compulsory heterosexuality, is essentially the idea that
I haven't heard that term.
being straight being a man, a cisgendered man who is attracted to cisgender women. That's it. That's the norm. That's the default. That's what is expected of all of us. And so that's all that we're kind of spoon-fed. That's the role models that we're given. That's the scripts that we're given. That's the foundation that we're given. So we kind of build our lives from that model, whether or not it fits. So explaining that to somebody who has no knowledge of the queer community, I wonder if you could find a way to like de-queer it. So like find something that has nothing to do with sexuality that maybe this person would relate to. So for example, maybe this person's parents are both lawyers, and so they really want this person to be a lawyer, but they decided instead they want to be an artist, right? You could try to explain comp het in a parallel.
But what kind of peanut butter is really the real question? Because there are acceptable forms of peanut butter to eat with. There's a great peanut butter. I don't know if this company still exists, but they definitely existed several years ago. Has anyone ever heard of like Teddy Bear peanut butter? And they're out of Vermont, and they had this white chocolate peanut butter that was like the best peanut butter. You have to get it at like ritzy lefty stores like Co-ops and stuff like that. Anyway, if you're eating good peanut butter, this is acceptable. If you're eating like Jif or something like that, go get yourself some good peanut butter is all I'm going to say. I will judge you based on the peanut butter that you eat, bro. If you're going to be eating peanut butter, you got to make it good. You got to make that enjoyable. Or at least like have like a fluffernutter or something. Something like that. Anyway. Now I want that teddy bear peanut butter. I'm going to be looking that up.
Situation that the person can relate to by saying, well, imagine if you becoming a lawyer, that's your comp het. That's the thing that was expected of you. That's the way that you were raised, the expectation that was put on you. And you had to actively search within yourself to discover, wait a minute, I don't actually want to be a lawyer. That actually doesn't fit me. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't spark joy, or it doesn't feel right. It's not me. I'm this other thing that was actually never taught to me. And I had to go and discover that on my own, that I want to be an artist, right? It's the same thing with being straight or gay.
Oh, Teddy peanut butter. Teddy peanut butter. That's what it's called.
Okay, we've reposed it. So the original question, where I think I was a little bit confused, has been kind of clarified as, I just wonder, what's the definition of queer in relation to romantic orientations and who you're attracted to in date?
That's a good question.
Good question. So I think this is a question around kind of language, semantics, labels. And it's a good question because there's a lot of words out there. The way that I understand it, and the way that
the other amazing peanut butter. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about I'm listening to this, I promise, but sometimes we get sidetracked. You know what, like another amazing peanut butter? And I know people don't like going to Whole Foods because they're lefties, but there's some things that Whole Foods is like really, really, really good at. And so occasionally I'll go to Whole Foods. Anyway, in Whole Foods, they have a grinder where you can grind honey roasted peanuts on the spot and cut and walk away with a big plastic thing of freshly ground honey roasted peanut butter. And it is that peanut butter is orgasm. I haven't had that peanut butter in years. I'm going to go get some of that. I want to put it on a bagel or something. Like that is like the best peanut butter that's ever been peanut buttered.
I use it in my own life is queer is like this umbrella term that just kind of encompasses us all. Are you a sexual minority, gender minority, romantic orientation minority?
So anything that so this is an instance. We're coming back to the presentation now. Put the peanut butter talk aside. This is an instance where she's actually giving the correct definition of queer without realizing she's doing it. So what she's saying is, if you are a sexual minority, you're queer. If you are a relationship minority, you are queer. If you are a minority in any way, you are queer. Okay, so what does that mean? To be a minority of something goes against the norm. So if we're defining queer as going against the norm, trying to corrupt the norm, and she's saying if you are a minority in any way, then you're queer, she's actually giving the correct definition of it, but she doesn't fully know why. This is why it's so helpful to speak socialist to really understand what socialists mean, because she doesn't know how to speak socialist, but she's still giving the socialist definition of things. Do you guys see that? But it's much more subtle. When they don't fully understand the ideology they're selling, it's much more subtle when but if you pick it apart and you really think about it, you're like, "Oh yeah, they're saying the same thing. They're just saying it in different ways." I should start a second channel all about peanut butter. I should also start another channel all about royal content. Maybe this is what I'm going to do when I give up all this stuff next year. I'm just going to talk about peanut butter and beer and royal content on YouTube. That'd be pretty great. Rottweiler said, all of this goes to the new class struggle. They separate themselves into all those identities. That's why they cannot be friends with non-queer people. They distrust them by default. Great point, Rottweiler. I appreciate it. Great point. Exactly. So queer just boils down to being any kind of minority, which means going against the norm. Well done.
You can fit under the queer umbrella.
I'm going to make one channel called Peanut Butter, Beer, and Royalty. We'll do all three on the same channel. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that, but that'd be fun, actually.
If you want to. And then from there, we kind of have these branches into like sexuality or like sexual orientation, gender, romantic orientation. And then from there, they continue to split off, right? Heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, heteroromantic, homoromantic, biromantic, aromantic, asexual. So my short answer would be that any non-hetero romantic orientation could fall under the queer umbrella, in my opinion. But you know, everybody uses labels their own way and finds what's comfiest for them, and that's okay. How do you have a relationship with parents who are unaccepting of your sexuality and relationships? Oh, first and foremost, I'm sorry, because that's hard. That's the hardest thing. And
I think this is where conservatives get into trouble too, because like this is the weapon that the left uses against conservatives all the time. They tell their kids, if you are gay or if you're trans, your parents aren't going to love you and they're going to kick you out of the house. And then if the kid is at home and the kid has been convinced by the school that they're queer or gender nonconforming or any of these things, and they hear at the school, if you're gay or trans, your parents are not going to love you and they're going to kick you out of the house. And then they go home and conservative mom and dad are bitching and complaining about Dylan Mulvaney and drag queens and all of this stuff. They're feeding into what the kid has been taught at school about your family's not going to love you, your family's not going to accept you. And then the kid, because they're kids and they don't have, their brain isn't fully developed to reason through this yet, because that doesn't happen till we're in our early to mid 20s. The kid's like, my parents aren't going to love me for who I am. And then the kid starts hiding things from their parents and they start keeping secrets from their parents and they get more involved with the queer bullshit in schools. This is why, I mean, I think, again, this is another case of where like conservatives are being their own worst enemy, and the things that they're doing to hate on people that are different than them is being used against them to literally pull their kids away from them. And it's sad. It's like literally all you need to do is say, The solution to this is people should say, well, they're over 18, they're allowed to do what they want. I wish them no ill will. Jesus loves everyone, however you want to frame it. Like, just don't shit talk. Like, I just don't understand why this is so hard. Because you don't know what your kids are hearing in school. And so if your kids are hearing mom and dad aren't safe, and then you're going home and mom and dad are constantly bitching and complaining about this stuff, it's like it's feeding into every confirmation bias the kid has. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's not necessarily if the kid, and most kids I think are brainwashed into this ideology. I don't think it's real most of the time. But even if the kid like was actually gay, let's just, posit that, and they came out to their parents would probably still love them. They might not be happy about it, but conservatives do this thing where they're like, I hate the sin, but not the sinner. And it's like, to a kid, to someone who's young, it's like, to hear your parents hate who you are, that's not gonna fly, man. And so, I don't know. I just think it's not looking at the bigger picture.
I know that you're the person who said that you were from Manitoba earlier, so I just want to say I get it. I get it. I'm from there too. I get the community that you're in, and kind of the context of that, at least in my own experience. How do you have a relationship with parents who are unaccepting of your sexuality in relationships? You have a relationship with them on your terms. So that means checking in with yourself about what are the things that you want out of relationship with your family. What are the things that you can realistically get right now? How harmful is it for you to keep this relationship when they're not accepting? And that's not to say that you should or shouldn't keep a relationship with family that's not accepting of you. That's an individual choice. Some families will come around with time, some of them need time. And some people are willing and able to give that time and some aren't. So, and both are okay. So there's really no right or wrong answer. I would just offer that you really sit with the question of how much of this relationship is for me, how much is for them, and how much of those two things am I capable of holding and comfortable holding. Because you can't change somebody else. You can't force them to feel a way that they don't feel. You can't force them to accept you. And so there's a level of acceptance that has to happen, at least right now, because you never know. You never know. Family can come around, and they often do. So it's asking yourself what feels healthiest for you right now. Do you think finding relationships as a queer person would be more difficult? It depends where you live, if I'm honest. There are queer people everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Oh, this is where Field comes in. For any of you who aren't familiar with Field, Field is a dating app, or an app to meet people for folks who are curious, for folks who want to explore and experience different sides of life. This is a very queer-friendly dating space app. It's a kink-friendly place. And
Really?
it's a really neat platform
for I need to get on this
meeting
app.
other people who are similar to you or who share similar
I need
interests.
To get on this app.
Especially if especially if they're interests that maybe just face to face with someone you don't necessarily know, right? So you can put in your preferences and interests, things like BDSM, your gender preferences, those kinds of things. And
these people are obsessed with BDSM. Why do you think that is? It's such a weird thing. Well, no, you know why it is. Do you know why it is? This is one of those weird things. Okay. So I've explained repeatedly how life is all about balance, right? When you eliminate something from one area of your life, life is going to come around and balance it out in another way. So what are leftists obsessed with? What are leftists obsessed with? They're obsessed with power, but they're obsessed with it in a way where they try to gain power to eliminate hierarchies, because leftists want everyone to be the same. Okay, leftists want everyone to be on the same level. That's what equity is. Equity means everyone's on the same level. They mean like it's sameness over everything, right? So because they're trying to like eliminate hierarchies, they're trying to eliminate the power differential between the haves and the have-nots, the bourgeois and the proletariats. They're trying to eliminate all this stuff. So they're very literally trying to eliminate power struggle from part of their lives. So how does that manifest in terms of balance? BDSM. Because they're trying to eliminate the power struggle from one part of their lives, that balances out in the bedroom by saying, I'm going to do the power struggle in the bedroom with whips and chains and handcuffs and all of those things, because I want to eliminate that power struggle in this part of my life. I have to balance it out by engaging in it over here. Isn't that funny the way things work out? Life always has a way of balancing things out, man. Every time. But it's true. Leftists are obsessed with BDSM. They talk about BDSM and kink like all the time. And I would bet you it goes back to like, they want to be egalitarian, have everyone the same, eat the rich, all this stuff. No more rich people, no more poor people. They're trying to eliminate that in one area of their life. And so it comes out in another area of their life. No shade on people who are into that. I don't really care either way. But if you're going to experiment with power, like sex is probably a pretty healthy way to do it, you know?
Yeah, meet like-minded people. But
consensually, of course.
So my two-part answer to that question is that one, dating and meeting people as a queer person with today's technology and apps like Field, like there's no difference. We are everywhere and you just have to know where to look, and Field is one of those places. And then, you know, you have a leg up if you're living in a big city versus a small town for sure. But no, there's so many of us. There's absolutely so many of us. Oh, which also, speaking of
well, yeah, the left is also very into polyamory, Lizard. In fact, there is a very leftist town in Massachusetts, Somerville, right outside of Boston. Actually, it's kind of a cool town before they went leftist crazy. But Somerville, Massachusetts has recently made like employment benefits available to polyamorous couples. Which polyamory, for people who don't know what polyamory is, it just means you're in a relationship with like more than one person. It's kind of like, you know, what is it, like polygamy, but not really. But that's what that means. But leftists are very into that because polyamory is a way for them to queer relationships. It's like this chosen family sort of thing. It's part of their way of trying to queer the nuclear family. Polyamory is definitely not being single. Polyamory is being in a relationship with more than one person rather. And they talk all the time. They talk about all their feelings about being in a relationship with more than one. I could not talk about my relationship that much to be in like a polyamorous relationship. It's like they have to talk about their feelings and who they're sleeping with and all this crap. And I'm just like, that is like way too much effort.
Field, I mentioned at the beginning, we're having a group chat over on the Field app. The link will be in the chat. I think the chat's over here. The link will be in the chat to the in-app group chat. I'm also pulling questions from there now, and then after this stream is over, I'm going to be in there chatting with you guys in the group
I'm
as well.
definitely joining this app just for fun. What should my pronouns be when I join this app?
Okay, another big question. Wow, you guys have really good questions. Any advice on how to process previous sexual behavior with men after you've accepted your identity as a lesbian?
Why do you need to process
Big
it?
question.
It happened.
And
Don't
again,
dwell
so
on
many
it.
of these questions are not black and white answers. It's so different for every person. So take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. One, I want you to try and be kind to yourself. I want you to try and be gentle with yourself. I want you to try and remember that every experience that you had, you were doing the best that you could with the information that you had at the time.
This is so stupid. Why are you relitigating people that you've had sex with? This is one of the most bizarre things to me, okay? Listen, I had a metric ton of sex in college. I had sex with people I would never have sex with today. I made mistakes were made, all right? Mistakes were made. But I didn't go back and fucking dwell and relitigate the sexual mistakes that I made in college because who really effing cares? I mean, seriously. You can't go back and change it. It was probably fun at the time. You obviously enjoyed it to some extent, or you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Just let it go, man. Move on with life. Sometimes you want dick. Sometimes, apparently, you turn into a queer lesbian. Not me, but this person. And that's just the way it goes. You don't need to have, entire fucking therapy sessions over the fact that at one point you liked dick. Women's bodies are made to like dick. I don't know why I need to fucking explain this. I'm fucking 42 years old explaining that, guys, when you're born a woman, your body, you're going to appreciate the feeling of dick. That it could be a real one, it could be a plastic one, it could be a toy of some sort, but that's just the way the body works, man. You don't need to have philosophical conversations about the experience. I don't No, it does not need to be clipped. No, it does not. Exactly. Why are you having a self-imposed sexual struggle session? Why? Why are you having a struggle session with yourself over the fact that you once liked dick, okay? That makes no sense at all. Jesus. Oh, you're having a hard time with it, are you, Zowie? Are you? Are you? Indeed. Indeed. This is an excellent opportunity to mount the like button, guy. But this is why I say that I don't think that leftists really enjoy sex. I don't think that leftists have good sex. I don't think they enjoy sex. It's because they're I need to have a struggle session with myself over once having had sex with a man. What the fuck? Just move on. It's not that hard.
Time. Okay? You were doing the best that you could with the information that you had at the time. And I know that hindsight is 2020, and there can be a lot of challenging feelings that exist and come up after recognizing and realizing your sexuality, after starting to live authentically to yourself, and then looking back and remembering all of the times that you didn't, all of the time that you spent living a life that wasn't really you. There can be a lot of grief that comes up, and that's completely understandable and normal and rational if you think about it. So kindness, just doing your best to hold everything that does come up, hold it with kindness. That's the number one big thing. And then exploring and holding and hearing that version of you. You know, when memories come up
She's about
of
to
that
cry.
past you.
This is like she's about to cry over the fact that she had sex with a man. Oh my God.
And those memories don't feel good, or you were making choices that didn't feel good. Shaming and judging and berating your past self doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. What really needs to happen, even though it can feel really scary, is embracing that version of you with love and compassion and forgiveness. And maybe even, and this might sound a little hokey. Okay.
Oh wow.
I apologize, but just trust me.
Here we go.
It works, okay?
Oh, sure. Sure, girl.
Maybe even saying to that version of yourself, to that past you, I'm here now. You know? I see you and I'm here now. I've got you.
I want everyone to talk to their inner child about the fact that you may have had sexual encounters that were ill-considered when you were younger. You may today, where you are right now, have had sexual encounters and one-night stands and liaisons with people that you later regret, or possibly just tell your inner child that it's okay. It's okay. That 15 minutes in the back seat of the car, you know, that was where you were at that time. And it's okay. It was okay to be in the backseat of that car for 15 minutes at that time. It was okay. But you're in a different place now, okay? You're safe. But that time there was a tape, you know, you can throw it in the fireplace, girl. You can throw it in the fireplace. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. That time at the tennis court late at night when everyone had gone home. The time there was skinny dipping at the lake. With the foreign exchange student that barely spoke English. It's okay. Everyone, I want everyone to comfort their inner child. It's okay. You may have made mistakes in the past, but it's all right. You're here now. And you're loved no matter what. No matter how much ill-considered dick you've had in your life, you are still loved.
I'm doing everything I can to keep you safe. I'm sorry that you
Beth. TMI, Beth, TMI. This is exactly what I needed on a Friday. This is exactly what I needed.
experienced XYZ. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there for you then, but I'm here for you now. Oh my goodness, you're asking such great questions. There are so many of them. I'm sorry if I miss your question. There's a bunch.
No. Offensive saint, this is not what most women do.
How do I begin to untangle my identity? I've always known I'm not exactly cis or hetero, but everything else feels like a giant question mark. Yeah, that's the big question, right? That's the question of this session, of this live stream, is like, how do I know? How do I know who I am? I would invite exploration, flexibility, and curiosity. If you can try and embody those characteristics, right? Instead of, instead of exploration, you're in a fear place, which is okay, absolutely okay, natural place to be. If you're in a fear place, it's about moving to, okay, how can I move into exploration that feels safe? Curiosity was the third one I said. What was the second one I said? Oh, flexibility. Okay. Flexibility in opposition to rigidity, right? So this is when sometimes when we think about all the different labels, it can feel daunting, because there are so many of them, and trying to find the perfect label is a big task. So I offer flexibility in the sense of like trying different things on and being comfortable and giving yourself permission to change if something doesn't feel right, right? And then the curiosity is kind of approaching all of this with this open mind, right? Rather than this kind of like a grasping feeling. Rather than that, more of like an opening rather than a clutching, closing. Which might feel counterintuitive. All of that might feel counterintuitive because you're saying, Alayna, no, I want to know the thing. I want to find the thing. I don't want to look at everything. I want to find the one thing. I think you kind of have to try so many different things on before you're going to find the right one for you. And that's okay. That's okay. Can the process be fun? Can it be, like I said, an exploration rather than like some kind of time limited question? Because there is no time limit. We've got our whole lives to explore. Ooh, how do I make the first move as a femme presenting bisexual in college? I sometimes feel like an invisible queer person because I'm not queer presenting, but I want to be open to a relationship. Okay, so, oh, hi. Want to meet my cat?
No.
Often when I'm in here and chatting, she thinks I'm talking to her.
Black cat, obviously.
Want to say hi to everybody?
Black cats matter.
Want to say hi to everybody? This is my cat Bugs.
Wait, I'm gonna do a pause for Gronzel over on Rumble. Gronzel says, Dr. K, do you have any advice for processing feelings about times in the past where I listened to Ben Shapiro before I found you? Gronzel, I would say that if you have listened to Ben Shapiro in the past and you now realize the error of your ways, what I want you to do is I want you to talk to your inner child and let your inner child know that your feelings about Ben Shapiro were valid at the time. And sometimes we grow and we change and we want different things than we did in the past. And sometimes when you find out that Ben Shapiro is nothing more than a shill for Israel and that he doesn't really care about America and that all he cares about is Israel, and the fact that his wife is a doctor and he still recommended the vaccine over and over and over and over and over again, the fact that Ben Shapiro didn't meet up to your expectations, it's okay. Because maybe you grew, whereas Ben Shapiro did not grow. Ben Shapiro, sometimes human beings grow apart. And sometimes relationships that are valid and successful at one point, sometimes people grow apart. And Ben Shapiro did not grow, and you did. You evolved. You found me. You found my audience. And we're glad that you did. And hopefully we can continue to grow together, and we can celebrate where we are now while still being thankful for the people that we met along the way. I hope that helps, Gronzel. Thank you for being here.
Want to hear a purring?
Hang on, I got a super chat from Beth. Thank you, Beth. So, Carlin, are animals considered private property? Will we be allowed to have pets under Marxism? That's a good question, Beth. I think you probably would. I know, like, I think that you probably would, because they're not animals are private property, but like they're not big enough private property for people to worry about. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you would still be able to have pets under Marxism. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Can you hear it a little bit? Sorry, got distracted. Okay, yes. How to approach somebody. So I mean, I guess it depends how forward you want to be. But an overall kind of
this is a good point, Tweeter Trash.
Statement
Fair
or
point.
Piece of advice to
you
keep
might
in
have
mind
to eat them at some point.
is that yes, hello. Is that as long as you go into every
Hang on, Offensive Saint is asking a question, a real question. Let's do this as a pop quiz for the chat. I want to see what the chat has to say. Are the pronoun things a Marxist tactic as well? What do you, I definitely have an answer to this, but I want to hear what people have to say. Are the use of pronouns a Marxist tactic? And if yes, what is the tactic? What are they trying to do with pronouns? What do you guys think? Just waiting for some answers to come in. In the meantime, guys, please make sure you have mounted that like button for me. How are pronouns a Marxist tactic? They disrupt the norms of grammar. They definitely do that. There is a Marxist goal of abolishing gender entirely and creating everyone as they, them. Exactly. Pronouns are trying to destroy the gender binary. They're trying to destabilize normal language, destroy the gender binary. Offensive Saint, you got it. Destroying the gender binary. Exactly. Abolishing the gender binary, destabilizing normativity, confusing the fuck out of everyone, make everyone a they, them. Oh, hang on, chat jump, make everyone a they, them. Abolish the gender binary to queer the world. Exactly. They want to make non-binary the default. Exactly. I think that this is actually one of the main things that the pronouns are doing. It's a power thing. I mean, they abolish the gender binary is true as well, obviously, but I also think that the use of pronouns and the pushing of pronouns is a way to really make sure that they are dictating the language that we use, because if you dictate the language, you dictate people's thoughts, right? It's proof of unity. I love that, Rottweiler. It's a form of accepting the Cultural Revolution. If you use the pronouns, you're accepting the Cultural Revolution. The gender binary was created by capitalism. Yep. It's to change the language. Very good, guys. Well done.
interaction without expectation, without entitlement, right? Then you won't be read as like creepy or overbearing. Being okay with rejection is essentially step one. Like knowing that there's a possibility that this person either isn't queer, or maybe they're not looking to date, or maybe they're not interested in you. All of those things are okay. You shoot your shot. And if it's a no, it's a no. But if it's a yes, hey, good thing you tried. And then the next piece would be compliments and the way that you phrase compliments. So complimenting someone in a platonic way would look like a compliment on a piece of clothing, let's say. Because you always want to compliment people, first of all, on something that they can control. You want to compliment somebody on something that they chose, right? So like clothes or makeup or jewelry or hair, the book they're reading, something like that. And a platonic compliment would look like, I really like your
Bot.
shirt.
I appreciate it.
That's a cool shirt. That's a nice shirt. Platonic. A flirty compliment, a flirty way to comment on the shirt would be, you look really good in that shirt.
Wow.
So it's not, I like your shirt, where'd you get it? It's, I like you in that shirt. Let's get it.
This is so cringe. Queer dating advice.
Is that helpful?
Great. Kat likes it.
I also like to think, and maybe I'm living a little bit in my own la la land, but I do also like to think that there are more and more, there's more and more acceptance of queerness not just looking one way. Because there's no way to look queer. Like there is, right? Like we all kind of know that there is, but there's no invalid way to look queer. Oh my goodness, there's so many comments. How are you guys doing? How's this going so far? How's everybody feeling?
I still don't know if I'm queer. I feel like I'm being made to struggle section my previous sexual improprieties, but
I'm way behind on these comments.
Kat's causing problems.
Love it.
Kat's looking for a
Great.
snack.
Love it. Love, very good. Really happy. Love this. So fun. So helpful. Okay, good. Okay, good. That's what I'm hoping for. Let Bugs cook. Yeah, you can hear her just chatting. She wants to be a part of it. Someone said, I honestly just want a super clear definition or what it means for you to be queer.
That's a really great
question. To you
question.
to be queer.
What does it mean?
It's hard though, because queer is such a encompassing experience. It's almost like,
so it's an encompassing experience, and this is it, guys. It's like you're not going to hear her say being queer means being gay or being queer means being trans. Queer is an encompassing experience.
My queerness started with my sexuality and has like moved into so many areas of my life. Let me think if I could give you the most concise definition.
How has it moved into so many areas
of queerness for me is just not straight. Like that, that's really it is that
wrong.
Encompassing for me. It is that wide.
Wrong, but okay.
Not straight and or not cis.
Okay, so she just did the things I didn't think she was going to do.
That's queerness to me.
So she proved me wrong, a rare instance where she proved me wrong, but this is actually just a reflection of the fact that she doesn't understand her own ideology. Because if it was true that was the simple definition of queer, then it wouldn't be an all-encompassing experience.
Right. Okay. How did you realize you weren't sexually attracted to men at all?
After 10 years of dating a man.
How did I realize? Also, I saw that the group chat link is in the chat again. So anybody who wants to join the field group chat, the link is in the chat here, because after I get off of here, I'll be going into there and we can chat that way. So how did you realize you weren't sexually attracted to men at all? Took me 28 years. Took me 28 years of actively being with men to realize. For me, and this is so difficult, and I know not helpful for everybody because not everybody's in this situation. My ex and
Yes.
I, for the last
Let us all remember for the last 20 minutes of this presentation that this person is getting a master's degree in counseling. This person's going to be a clinician. This person is going to counsel people. Can we just all keep that in mind for the last 20 minutes of this lesson on how to know if we're queer or not?
like 5 years of our relationship, we had a sort of open relationship where I was able to explore my sexuality while still in like a consensually non-monogamous relationship with him.
That's a socialist thing,
So-
consensual non-monogamy.
It was through having experiences with not men and just how differently I felt during those experiences was how I realized. Like, up until that point, I had never asked myself the question. I had never even asked myself, "Do I come up here? Just come in." But then you have to behave, okay? I had never even asked myself, "Are you attracted to men?" I had only ever asked myself, "Are you attracted to women? Are you sure? Are you attracted to
You
queer
are
people?
obviously
you sure,
attracted
though?
to men,
Are
otherwise
you
you wouldn't
really?
have been in a
Or are you just doing this for
relationship with
attention?
one for 10 years.
Are you really? Does it matter? Is this a part of your identity, or is it just a passing urge? I had questioned that side of myself endlessly, but I had never asked the question, am I attracted to men? Do I want this?
Rottweiler.
And once I started, so asking the question was the first step. And then the second was actually listening for an answer. So I had to have experiences that were other so that I knew that there was an other. Because I didn't know how to answer that question because I didn't know what a yes felt like. Does that make sense? I didn't know what a yes.
She hadn't fucked a woman, and once she did fuck a woman, she decided she liked fucking women better than men. That's what that like let's just cut to the chase. Why do we have to make this so flowery? But no, I don't believe that she's like really a lesbian though, because like I'm sorry, like I don't buy this. I was in a relationship with a man for 10 years while not being attracted to men and not liking dick. I just don't buy it.
Felt like I didn't. And so until I experienced my own yes, I couldn't actually effectively ask myself the question, are you attracted to men? And get the answer no. So for me, it was a lot about experience. But there's also fantasy. Fantasy is a big one for people exploring things mentally. There's actually a whole core on Field for people who are interested in fantasizing together and not necessarily meeting up in person. There's all sorts of cores, they call them, over on Field, which is kind of like groups that share a similar interest.
Really?
And you can like change your location too if you want to see a core of queer people in a city that you're going to visit, or
good.
A core of people who are interested in BDSM. You can do that.
This dating app is going to open up
neat.
so many doors for us, guys. So many doors.
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so continuing on the kind of question on what does it mean to be queer, does polyamory have anything to do with being queer? Like, what counts as queer?
Aha.
So, like, good question. I bet you some people would say absolutely yes. Polyamory is a form of queerness because it diverges. Is that the right word?
Side note, I have on my desktop, and I've had this up for a while. Oh shit, it went on. Well, I have to find it again. God damn it. I hope I bookmarked it. Hang on. I have it. Side note, I have on my desktop a list of counseling courses that Bot sent me from a website called the Affirmative Couch, where they are kink and LGBTQIA plus counseling courses. And there are all these courses about like polyamory. And I thought that maybe we could, maybe I would pay like the $20 or $30 or whatever to get access to these courses. And maybe we could watch a course about how therapists counsel polyamorous people in their polyamorous relationships. I thought that would be fun sometime. Anyway.
Diverges from the norm. But then you could probably also have the argument that if you're polyamorous, I would say inherently no, polyamory probably wouldn't be queer unless you're polyamorous with
Wrong.
non-cis,
Wrong.
hetero
She doesn't
people.
understand her own ideology. How sad.
And the question, what is straight? I would say straight is like the comp het definition, right? So you've got cis men attracted to cis women. Straight. And believe it or not, they do exist. Guy says straight, never heard of it. So this question has come up a couple of times. And I just don't feel like I have the greatest.
Hang on, I've got a super chat or a Rumble rant over on Rumble from Gronzel. I apologize, I can't display it on the screen. Gronzel says, I think this viewpoint is how they get the kids. If you convince someone hetero is a bad and or boring, you can get them to convince themselves that there's something other than that. I agree with that, Gronzel. I think like they present like heterosexuality as like, you know, boring and normal and cookie cutter. And like, what do kids want? Kids don't want to be boring and normal and cookie cutter. Kids want to think they're special. I mean, everyone wants to think they're special, exceptional, different, stuff like that. And it's like, I agree that that's, and of course, like when you're talking to kids too, I mean, especially when you're talking about like middle school, like high school, being a teenager is awkward AF. You don't feel good as a teenager. Your body's changing. You got like all these hormones going on. You feel awkward. You're breaking out. Like you're just figuring things out. And so it's like, you're going to feel awkward and abnormal when you're a teenager. Everyone does. And these people prey on that by saying, do you feel like you don't like you do you feel like you're not normal? Well, then you must be queer. Well, no one feels normal when they're a teenager. That's part of being what a teenager is. Thoughts on Lady Balls? Is this that Daily Wire thing that they're all starring in? Why can't the Daily Wire write a good story that's just a good movie without promoting their own fucking hosts? Why did they have to be in this movie? Why couldn't they just write a good movie with a good story that wasn't fucking social cultural commentary? The first movie that the Daily Wire did about that school shooter, that was a good ass movie, man. That was a good movie. It had nothing to do with the cultural bullshit. It was just a good movie. It was an enjoyable movie. It wasn't woke at all. It was just like a normal fucking movie. And then the Daily Wire decided, let's do cultural commentary with our movies. And now I don't want to watch it at all. Because first of all, I don't like any of the hosts of the Daily Wire. Second of all, I don't want to watch movies about cultural commentary. I don't want the left doing cultural commentary. I don't want the fucking right doing cultural commentary either. I just want to watch a normal goddamn movie. Why? Like, why? Not everything needs to be a commentary on left versus right. Like sometimes a good story is just a good story and we watch movies to escape the real world. I spend all day every day in culture war bullshit. If I'm gonna watch a goddamn movie, I don't want it to be culture war bullshit. I just want it to be a good story. I want it to be like most of the time like a horror movie with blood and gore, and like found footage horror movies are my favorite. Because it's just really about like surprise and shock and killing people and like torture porn and like all that. Like I just want a good story, man. It doesn't always have to be horror movies. There could be other movies too. But like, not everything needs to be a comment on the fucking culture war. Those are my thoughts. I didn't realize I had that many thoughts, but yeah, movies are escape time.
Answer necessarily, because again, it's tough. But I want to pose the question in the comments if anybody has any experience. Maybe you could help this person out as well.
Barbie is the best.
So the question
movie ever.
is,
That's
I
not the one I
married
wanna
my
show.
first same-sex partner. How can I navigate the conversation
Barbie
that
is
I
the
want to
greatest movie ever
explore more
made.
sexual partners?
Greatest movie
Hella
ever
afraid
made.
of this. Totally fair. That's a scary thing to need to pose. And I think that this can go for anybody who wants to explore an open relationship while in a currently monogamous situation. I think you need to figure out for yourself whether or not this is non-negotiable, because I think that will change the conversation with the partner. Because if this is something that you're interested in trying, then that's how you pose it, right? And you could maybe pose it gently, fun, flirty, as like you could ask your partner, like, do you ever think other people are cute? Have you ever thought about like sleeping with someone else and just see how they react, right? Reaction could surprise you. But then if the reaction is poor, that's where you kind of need to know within yourself, if this is a non-negotiable, then it might be time to start therapy with that person, couples therapy.
Oh, wow. Jeff, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I have some thoughts on the Barbie movie, having just watched it a few nights ago. I loved it. All the haters can go cry in a corner. Jeff, I totally agree. Barbie is one of the greatest movies that has ever been made. If Barbie does not win the Oscar for Best Picture, I'm going to be very upset. Barbie better at least get fucking nominated for Best Picture. If Barbie doesn't get nominated for Best Picture, I'm gonna legitimately throw something at the wall. Like, it is one of the greatest movies of all time. It is a classic. It should go on every top movie list that has ever been made or ever will be made. And I don't care what anyone has to say about it. Barbie was bourgeois. Barbie was not a woke movie. Exactly. Barbie was made for women who remember playing with Barbie as a child. That's exactly right.
Because as hard as it is, you only have one life, right? That's it. You got one. And so it would pain me to know that you would live that life in a way that isn't fulfilling you, that isn't experiencing everything that you want to experience for the sake of another person. And I know that that's tricky because you love this person and you don't want to hurt them and you don't want to lose the relationship. So it's really about getting clear with yourself on what it is that you want, and how you would like to get there, right? So other questions are, how would you feel about your partner sleeping with other people as well? And if this is something that you're going to explore within your relationship, start slowly. Start so slowly, right? You start with dating apps. Like, you start by downloading Field. You can even download Field as a couple. You can connect
Really?
your accounts with your partner.
Really?
If that's interesting to you.
Wait. The best thing that's going to come out of this happy hour is I'm going to sign up for this queer dating site. And I'm going to go downstairs later. I'm going to break the news to Victor and be like, "Victor, I need you to sign up for this queer dating site so that," Maybe I'll just sign up for an account pretending to be Victor or something like that. But like, I'll be like, I need us to pretend to be a couple. Well, we are a couple. We're married. But like, I need us to pretend to be a polyamorous couple on this queer dating site to see how many crazy people we can get to message us. This is going to go horribly, horribly wrong.
And then building from there. A foundation of trust and communication is essential to getting started. Scrolling.
Be like, Victor, if you really love me, you'll pretend
Amelie
to
says,
be
anyone know how to
polyamorous
get
on
to
a
the group
dating
chat?
site.
The link just takes me to the website. Yeah, you have to download the app. So the group chat is within the app.
Victor just texted me from downstairs and he said, hell no. I have been denied. My husband doesn't actually love me enough to sign up for a queer polyamorous dating site. Victor, we're going to have to go into couples counseling now to work out our issue. Victor, I just don't know if I'm going to be emotionally fulfilled if you won't sign up for the queer polyamorous dating site with me. It's okay, Victor. We'll work out our differences. It'll be fine. We'll order a pizza later. It'll be fine. It'll be good. We'll order a pizza. We'll watch a movie. We'll work out our differences.
App. So if it's taking you to the website, it's probably trying to prompt you to download the app, and then you have to go to the link that way through your phone. Maybe I can be your couples therapist when I'm done school. I would love to.
Oh, good. Oh,
That's
good.
my like exact. I can only hope. And for those of you who are asking about dating and like how to meet people and being new to dating and all of that, I want to give just like a couple of tips for the Field app to meet people.
Oh, good.
Just the biggest one, the most basic one, have a complete profile. You want to have multiple photos. You want to have the prompts filled out, including your interests, including your desires, because the more that somebody can see, like get the fullest picture of who you are, the better. And then they also have a feature called pings, which is kind of neat.
Ronzalon Rumble says, I'll bet Sophie's on that app. Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if I got on this queer dating app and our Abolish the Family goddess Sophie was on the app? I mean, I know Sophie's in a relationship, but it's my impression that Sophie's in like an open relationship and possibly like a polyamorous relationship based on her Instagram. Oh, that would be hilarious.
Where you can see who likes you, and you can ping other people to like have your profile be at the top of the people who liked them, which is a really neat little boost. What's the word now? Riz? It's a little bit extra riz.
The Groypers say riz.
For the person who wants to approach
Look,
LGBTQ people at
the Groypers say riz as well. I've never heard any other group say riz. Now we know the socialists say riz and the Groypers say riz. Is that like is that something the kids are saying? I just don't know. I'm old now. I have no idea.
School, but she's like femme presenting. Just ping them. You don't need to compliment a shirt or a person in a shirt. Ping them.
Riz is a Zoomer thing. What does it mean? What does it mean, offensive saint?
Okay, a couple recommendations from the comments for people looking to explore polyamory. We have a recommendation to read the book Polysecure. I have not read it personally, but I have seen that book and heard of that book like floating around the zeitgeist for a long time. So even though I haven't read it personally, I second that. Polysecure. Discussing needs and boundaries is super important. Fantasizing together and seeing what feelings come up, like jealousy. Yes, so this is the communication piece, the building the foundation piece. If you really want to do this together, if you really want to stay in your relationship and explore other people, the relationship has to come first. So building this with your partner is a necessity.
I think it's very telling. I think it's very telling how big a part of this talk polyamory ended up being. Because remember, guys, queering, bro, I'm 42 years old. Like I'm old. I don't play pretend that I'm your age, okay? I don't play pretend. I'm just saying, just because sometimes younger men find me attractive and like want to talk to me doesn't mean that like I'm fucking young. Anyway, so I find it telling how big a part of this whole presentation polyamory is, because like remember, queering relationships is about going against the norm. So like it makes sense that polyamory is a big part of this, but that really tells you how they're trying to queer the nuclear family. Obviously, I'm 29, but I'm not a day over 29. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you. See, this is what I know. This is why younger men like me, because I look young and I'm not a bitch unless I'm trying to be a bitch. Like Beardson found out how much I can be a bitch when I want to be a bitch. But anyway, not Ukrainian though. My husband's Ukrainian. I'm Irish and French. A good Aryan for you grapers. Irish and French.
Oof. How do I protect my emotional well-being when I'm attracted to my straight girlfriend? It's driving me crazy and I don't want to hurt our friendship. Okay, don't want to hurt the friendship, but you're hurting yourself. I understand not wanting to hurt the friendship, but is the friendship more important than your emotional well-being? Like if she wasn't the straight girlfriend, I would say like shoot your shot and then see what happens. But if she is straight and she's not interested in women, or she's not interested in you or queerness, and this is actively hurting your emotional well-being, I think you gotta walk away.
Yeah, bro, I get carded all the
walk
time.
away.
It's great. I love getting carded now. It's fucking great.
Well, you don't
Like,
gotta do
thank you.
anything.
Thank you.
To be
Here,
fair,
thank
you don't gotta do anything. I would say sit with yourself and really ask, what needs of my own am I meeting, and what needs am I not meeting, and how can those be met? Okay, let's do one more question.
Almost done, guys. Hang in.
One more question. I'm just scrolling through here. Do you think people can be friends with their exes? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I think for most relationships, it takes time. Not everybody can be, not every ex relationship should be. But can you? Yes. I have exes that I am not friends with. I have one ex that I'm like very close with. It really comes back to kind of what we were just discussing in the last question of what needs are or aren't being met and why. That's a big one. Why do you want this person as a friend? What is it that the relationship brings to your life? What does it add that is so valuable that you want to do the work to keep it around? Because sometimes it's a really bad idea. Sometimes the desire to stay connected is maladaptive, unhealthy. It's going to hold you back. And sometimes your relationship was built on, a solid foundation of friendship, and just because the romantic part of that is over, it doesn't mean that the friendship part is. So Elodie says this is the definition of being queer. Exactly.
I'm
there you
almost
go.
done the Groyper shell. I'm
That's
going to
the
show it off when
definition
we're
of
done.
being queer. I think that's all the questions that I have time for here. Oh my goodness, but someone just asked a really good one. Okay, Video Junkie Girl, come into the field group chat on the app, because I'd really like to keep chatting, especially if anybody has follow-up questions or you just want to talk with more people in the community.
All right, this is basically done. Our queer workshop is done. Now, did anyone turn out to be queer in the course of our queer workshop? I know I didn't, but I want to show you guys my Groyper shawl that I've been making because I'm almost done. I just have to bind off the rest of it, so I'm still working on like binding off the border, so you're still going to see my needles, but how does everyone think it looks? How does everyone think it looks? I really do like this stitch right here that the border is. That was an interesting stitch to do. I think the color came out great. Now, there is going to be some, I'm going to put some fringe on it because I like fringe and I have a lot of leftover yarn. And there's fringe in the pattern, but I'm basically, right now what I'm doing is I'm doing this border on the bottom. I'm binding off all of the stitches. And so I'm about halfway done that. Yeah, I agree. I agree. The band symbol of this shawl is I think it's necessary. I think it looks great. I should be done that within the next couple of days. Maybe I should send this to Nick to give to his mother as a present. Do you think Nick, Groyper, like offensive sake, do you think Nick's mom would like this shawl as a present? I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't even know where I would send it, but I think it looks pretty good. I like the colors a lot. I like the pattern. Too bad Stephen West is an asshole. I really like the texture of this pattern quite a bit. Feels great. All right. Guys, that is all we have for happy hour today because apparently now I have to go join a queer polyamorous BDSM dating site and do some research. Now, don't tell anyone that I'm doing this, obviously. We don't want to give it away, but I do want to remind people that you can come back and join me tomorrow at 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday. I don't know what we're watching yet, but of course on Socialism Saturday, we do watch the farthest of the far left, the most dystopian of the dystopian. Maybe we'll get some good old queer Marxism tomorrow. Who knows? But I do want to remind people, please make sure you are signed up for my Substack, which is, hang on, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. If you missed it, I posted a clip today of Michael Rechtenwald, the anti-woke professor, the former Marxist, telling me that I was right about everything I've been saying about socialism. So I was pretty happy about that. You can also make sure you become a supporter on the Substack, because when you become a supporter on the Substack for $8 a month, $80 a year, you will be invited to the biggest spy stream we have ever done. We are going inside a multi-day woke teacher training. We will be putting it on the internet so that you can see exactly what your kids' teachers are learning, exactly what's going to show up in your kids' classrooms, and you are going to be shocked. I promise you, I already know what the content of this is. I can't reveal it publicly because then it might ruin everything. And this is a supporter surprise for supporters only. And so sign up on the Substack for $8 a month, $80 a year, and you will get access to the biggest spy stream of the year next week. And of course, please make sure if you're looking for some Christmas gifts, head over to my merch store, unwokeart.com, where for another, 5 hours, you will be able to get the golden Trump design for 25% off. Some of the things you can pick up right now in the Unwoke Art Store is, of course, the iconic, the classic, the best-selling mug in the history of my store, the golden Trump mug, which is back for a limited time only, just for the holidays, because it's a limited edition design. But I brought it back just for the holiday season. You can pick up the Golden Trump mug in the store for 25% off for 5 more hours. And you can even get the Golden Trump wrapping paper. Just for the leftists in your life. You can get the Golden Trump wrapping paper for 25% off up until midnight tonight, and all sorts of other merch as well. I launch a new merch deal every single day for 25% off one of the designs. I will be launching another one at midnight tonight. So guys, head over to the Unwoke Art store while you still can and pick up your Golden Trump for 25% off, because at midnight, a new design is going to be 25% off, so it's a limited time only. All right, guys, that is all I have for right now. I will see you all tomorrow for Socialism Saturday. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.